Today's tutorial goes over everything about loot in Fortnite Creative or UEFN. I'll be going over using containers, creating floor loot, and also creating your very own custom chests that also work. Let's get right to it. So if you go down to Cotton Drawer, as you know, go to Fortnite and search up chest, as right here, the chest and ammo gallery, and you want to drag this out. So if you're doing this in Fortnite Creative 1.0, you can't change these, but if you're in UEFN, if you go into details, you're gonna notice there's a ton of settings in here that you can change. So these two basically, if you don't know, sometimes chests can spawn as like blue chests, and that's what the rare container event type is. Or for example, let me grab this little produce box thing right here, and if you look at in the container type of this, it's for produce, okay? While this normal chest is common chest and rare container is rare chest. That's the loot pool it's going to be taking from, alright? So I can change this produce box to common chest, and then it'll be a common chest, that makes sense. And the same thing for this, I can change this to produce if I wanted to. So that's how you change the type of loot pool it is, or like what kind of chest it is, and what like loot associates with it. But one big issue with this is that you can't change the items that's in it, which is the big issue, which I'm going to show you how to get around later. In every single one of these, you can change the searching sound loop. If you have any sound that's for like, you know, searching around inside the chest, you can do it. This is the sound that plays if you try to loot the chest again, even though it's already looted. This is for when you hit the chest, so it's, you know, wood impact, I guess. And then death is like, you know, if it gets like destroyed by a pickaxe or something. Now, num items that drop on range is a minimum maximum of how many items would spawn. So if I had this on 5, it'd pick anywhere from 1 to 5 items to drop out of it. Because it picks a random number in between 1 and 5. That's probably a whole number. Can have half an item, you know what I mean? And it's the same thing with loot spawn location. This basically is where this loot will spawn, like, you know, relative to the little thing right down here. So it's 65, 30, so it's gonna spawn like over here somewhere where my camera is. And then you can do the toss direction, which is right now Z, so that's this way. You can also change the toss speed, and you can also change the toss cone. If you make this, it's right now 65, so it's gonna be in a cone of this little area right here. If I were to make this 180, the items would get spit out all the way over this side. You'll also notice there's another few options here for Athena, and if you don't know what that is, Athena is basically chapter 1, okay? So it's like the legacy loot systems, and you can use this option to turn it on or off. If you turn this off, it'll use the loot system, like the way the loot falls out the chest from chapter 2 onwards. But if you turn this on, it's going to use these values, which are the ones from chapter 1. I don't think the difference is that big, but if you're being very specific, you can do that. A few more settings includes always show container, if you want that on or off. Another one is force spawn loot on destruction. So if you want to turn this on, if the player breaks the chest, the loot will all drop out. You can also make the container give the items directly to the player. And you have all these different settings, and then at the very end, you can also change the search, you know, chest. So now if I go open the chest in game, you know, the chest, oh wow, look at that. You can open any container you like, and it'll give you the loot associated with it in the current battle royale. So since the nitro fists are currently in the game, you're gonna get nitro fists, so that makes sense. So next we're going to work on some floor loot. Okay, to make some floor loot, what you want to do is go into Cotton Drawer. You want to then find an item spawner. Here it is, item spawner. Now inside this item spawner, you want to make it so a spawn timer is on, spawn timer for first spawn is 0, spawn item on timer is off. We're going to item this later. Item respawn is off, random spawns is random, base visual game is off, run over pickup, you can turn it on or off if you want. Initial movement of the item, it doesn't really matter, but you can turn it on or off if you want. Item scale, you just probably want to keep that 1. Enable game start, you keep that on. Continuously spawn items needs to be off, and then that will do. So now, this is basically our floor loot. So in our item list, okay, to make this work is that we want to put some items into our floor loot that can randomly spawn. So you may want a pistol, for example, to spawn, like, you know, this. Now, floor loot has a bunch of different things, so like, you can also do ammo if you wanted to. So just, for example, we'll grab some ammo and make that like maybe like 10 ammo, I guess. Now this item spawner will randomly spawn either a pistol or some ammo. And if I go and place a bunch of these down, you're now gonna notice, would you look at that? We got randomized, we got either a pistol or some ammo. Okay, now I'm just gonna delete these, go back to 1. I don't want to do that. You know, if you want to add more stuff, you just want to click this and append a bunch of stuff. You can add on to this infinitely if you want. Well, not infinitely, but there's probably a limit. So I don't know if there is a limit, but there probably is a limit. But in this, basically, I have one pistol, one common pistol. I might add another pistol, which is maybe, you know, green, then blue, or level 3, then level 4, And then finally, level 5, which is legendary. Then I might add assault rifle or pump shotgun. There we go. Now the thing is that if you want to do rarities, it's a bit different. Where the thing is that doing it with like this, where there's only one version of every single pistol, it makes it so this is equal a chance for there to be a common as there is to be a legendary pistol. Which usually you don't want it to be equal. You want the legendaries to be more rare than the commons. So usually to make it work, you want to add in a bunch of more common things. This is a common right now. So what we can do is we can copy this, copy the item. We hover over the index and you can copy the index. And if you just go into a new one, you can just do paste and then paste again, and it's going to add in the new thing. If I want to add a bunch, you can also in here you can also just do, you can hold shift and press left click. That will automatically just copy everything in. I just do this. So if you look at here, all of these are now the common pistol. So now looking at this, the epics and the greens all have the same chance as legendary, but I think you can understand how it works. So let's say we could have 10, you want to put 10 commons in here, then maybe 5 greens, and then maybe 3 blues, 2 epics, and maybe 1 legendary. And that will give it like a, it gets rarer and rarer. And you can do that with any 4 loots if you want. So just to test this, what I'm going to do is I'm going to grab a bunch. I'm just going to copy all of these, and I'm going to just make a bunch of these so we can test it. And now if we head over here, you're gonna notice, what do you look at this? We have so many commons, but we only have a little bit of maybe an epic, maybe a blue here and there, and only 1 legendary. So you can see the whole thing kind of worked pretty well. Now obviously you can change every single item in here. You can make more ammo, you can add more weapons if you wanted to. This is how you would make floor loot for if you want to make something like, I don't know, battle royale or something like that. And last thing we're going to cover in this video is how to make our own custom like chests. So if you remember from earlier, we could use those chests, but the problem is that we can't use our own loot. But using this way, we can use our own loot. So there's one device you want to use for this. Want to go into content drawer, want to search up the device known only as the switch device. Go down, we'll find it down here, the switch, and you'll bring it out. This switch is going to be our chest, if that makes sense. So I know it doesn't look like a chest yet, but it's going to be a chest, okay? So inside of here, you want it to be enable game start. You want initial state to be off. Visible during game, you want it to be visible during game. Turn on text is going to be the text. Search chest, so you want it to be search chest. And then turn off will just be nothing, because it's not. We're not gonna be able to interact with it. The device model, we're going to just leave that default. Sound, you want to turn that off. Allow interaction, you want to turn that on. And interacting time, you want how long you want to interact with the chest for. So it's going to be, maybe I'll just put 3 seconds. In limit time change, you can turn this on if you don't want the chest to ever be able to open again. But you can turn this off if you want the chest to be like, after like maybe 5 minutes, the chest will close again and people can open it again. So cooldown time, you can make it so it's like if we're not going to limit the time so it can change and you want it to repeat, you can set this to maybe, I'm gonna use 60 seconds for an example, but you can make that longer. That's how long it will reset for. So after that amount of time, you'll be able to open it again and get more loot. You can also make the allowed class and allowed team. Interaction radius, or maybe 2, 3, do 2.5. State reset time, you want to make this the same amount of time as your cooldown time if you have limit time change off. And then we're going to skip this, and then in store state per player, this is if you want to make it so it's kind of like, for lack of a better example, have you ever played modded Minecraft? There's like these chests that have like gold around them. If another player has looted the chest, they'll be able to still loot the chest and get stuff from it, if that makes sense. So if you want to turn this on, that'll make it so other players can still loot the chest and get some loot from it, even if another player has already looted it. So this is good for like an RPG kind of thing. Whatever, doesn't really matter. Use resistance, you generally want that off. And then check state of game start, you want to turn that off. And then check state when disabled, doesn't really matter. Now the next step is getting this actually looking like a chest. I want to use this option here called use custom mesh, and we can use a custom on mesh and a custom off mesh. And the custom on would be the opened, and the custom off will be the closed version. So to make this work, we're gonna need 2 models for a chest. We need an opened model and a closed model. So I have these 2 meshes I made, chest closed and chest open. I got this chest model from Fortnite porting, and then I went to Blender and I went to edit mode in Blender and I just moved the lid over and now it's open. Then I exported this as a separate FBX and now I have this. And then you can also use whatever mesh you also have for your own custom one if you want. And if you can do this and you're in Creative 1.0, the best option is to just do chest, to switch up any, just get a chest prop like this. This is the same thing. And just put your switch onto the thing like this. That's another option. But the problem is you won't be able to swap it to a different model, if that makes sense. So inside your chest, you want your off mesh to be the closed version, and you want your on mesh to be the open version. So now if I were to go into initial state and I were to turn this on and off, you're gonna notice now I can open and close the chest. So now in game, if I walk up to the chest, as you can see, we can now search the chest. If I were to, you know, search the chest, would you look at that? It's now open. Now, you're gonna notice now, if I walk inside of this chest, there's no collision on it. So here's how you make collision very quickly. If you just go find the static mesh in your content drawer, whichever you want, doesn't really matter. And then you want to go up here into collision, and you want to add maybe a box collision, depending on the shape. And look at that, we now have collision. For something like our open chest, if we add another box collision, but then we can probably make it so it's like, you know, slightly smaller from there. We can do alt and then drag, and we'll make another collision box, and we'll put it right here. And this will be for our lid. There's the little collision for the lid. So yeah, that's how you make collision. Okay, now but not least, we're gonna add some loot to our chest. Now for this, we're going to need a device known only as the item granter. Here it is. You want to find the item granter. It'll bring it out. Now this will basically grant the items to the player when they search the chest. So in here, you want to grant the current item list, we'll get into that later. Enable on game start when enable on game start. Receiving players will be triggering player. Grant condition will be always. Equip granted item, keep that off. Remove item on grant, turn that off. You can also change the initial weapon ammo and spare weapon ammo. So that's just like, you know, if you want to have like already ammo in the gun when you get it, you can do that. Cycle behavior, we're not going to be cycling, so it doesn't really matter. Grant will offline, doesn't matter. Drop items at player's location. You can make it so it'll always drop, so it just all the items will fall at the feet of the player, or you can make it so it'll always automatically go into the player's inventory, but it'll fall out if there's no more space. And the ownership of the dropped item can be receiving player, but usually you want this all if you want other players to be able to pick up the same items. And you want to grant the timer to be off, play audio to be off, and grant the game start to be off. So you want to grant the item when the switch is searched. Or when the switch is turned on, which is when the player searches it. So now, since we have this granter hooked up to our switch now, what we're gonna do, we can go to item list, and just like the spawn as before, this is how, you know, this will be our loot pool for our thing. Now the thing is that unlike a regular chest, if you remember from earlier, when you open a chest, you get like a bunch of loot. A good 4 things spawn. But with an item granter, you can only grant one type of item per device. So I can grant multiple things. Like if I wanted to grant multiple bullets, I can do 30 bullets, but I can only do 1 bullet out of 1 device. So if I were to loot this chest, I would only get these 30 ammo, and I won't get anything else. So if I wanted to get more stuff, for example, I'm gonna make a good like maybe 3 item granters for this example. There's gonna be a bunch of different stuff. So this will be like, you know, might make this ammo. This will be bullets and shells. This is going to be our ammo item granter, and then this will be maybe a weapon. So I guess I'll just do assault rifle and do shotgun. Make sure these are not 30 because we don't want to, you know, get 30 of these. All we also want is maybe 1 more item granter that's for band-aids or something, you know, get some meds. So look, there we go, perfect. Now all of these should be getting granted when you use a switch. So now if I were to search this chest, you're gonna notice now I'm gonna be granted, would you look at that, a bunch of different items. So yeah, that's how you make a custom chest. You can use all this stuff in this video if you want to make like, you know, a loot system for maybe like a battle royale or whatever you want to make. So that's about it. Remember to like, subscribe, and use my code in the Fortnite item shop. And also remember to watch all of these videos for more of my content. That's about it. I'll see you all around.